Welcome back to Minihanedom. I'm here with the one, the only Daver. Daver from Hull. How you feeling today, Daver?
I'm doing good. Celtics won, 54 points. Jason Tatum. I'm feeling good.
54 points, Jason Tatum. I like to hear that. I'm gonna limit the NBA talk to that
Yeah,
much right
no
there.
NBA.
um, all right, man. So you've been getting into a lot of feuds on Twitter. What's been going on with you? Everybody seems like they got an axe to grind with you. I mean, to
I,
me, from my perspective, you just have been kind of tweeting pretty innocent, lighthearted things, and the reaction has been crazy. So either I'm crazy or everybody else is crazy. There's no in
so
between.
I truly don't understand it, VD. I've said some stuff to people that usually it's like, oh, I get it. I was a jerk or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
still be talking about that totally innocuous tweet that I sent out where half of it was praising Mr. Cullinane, so
Yeah.
let's clear that up. By the way, me and Dave have DM'd before. He's helped me and Jay out with Talking Loud, like, helping Jay with like programs and how to get stuff on like KMS and just different stuff. Dave's been very cool for a long time. So I was a little surprised he didn't answer the DM about the show, that the idea that I had. And a few days later, I went on Twitter and I busted his chops a little bit. It was nothing that I thought was like over the top and blah blah blah. And yeah, and then like I think you made a great point on this show with Menners and Red, where it was like,
Thank you.
obviously he was a little upset because he was talking about it off air. You know what I mean? So that was actually
Yeah.
the surprising part, that he didn't see that it was like a ball busting.
Yeah, that's the part that really shocked me. I would have expected him to just kind of lean into it on Twitter and, because he's usually pretty self aware on Twitter. He'll bust his own balls. He's in on the joke. But that is what made it really interesting to me, is that him and Quantum Week Chris were gossiping about it and got overheard by Kirk. Otherwise, we never hear anything about that. So that is what was interesting to me. And then moving on from that, you kind of got into it with some of the Kirk and Off boys. Now what happened there?
So on their show, so by the way, and no, and Buddy's gonna catch some shrapnel today too. Our boy
That's
Buddy.
fine. That's fine.
So he DMs me after they record. He goes, "Oh, Andrew came at you. Oh, blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Oh, all right, like okay." So I wasn't even gonna listen because they had the dude, that guy Sigon, who's just, oh my god,
The holy trinity of boring.
the
That
holy
made me laugh.
trinity of, once Blind Owl jumped into the fray, that was the holy trinity of boring. Is Sig, Andrew, and Blind Owl. Like, that is, what are we doing? But I wasn't even gonna listen because it's just like, dad advice. Like, really, like, guys, what are we doing? Like, keep your kid alive, love the kid, don't murder your kid. Like, you'll be fine. Like, what are we, like? I'm not a dad, but I figure that's the whole
Those are the
plan. No one
basics.
wants to listen to you guys give like father advice. Like,
Yeah.
fuck are we doing? But anyway, that's what they want to do. They do it. I wasn't gonna listen. Then Buddy DMs me. I battle through. Like, I fucking battle through until they got to like the part where Andrew just irrationally, for no reason, in my opinion, he kept harping on taking initiative, and like he kept saying that, and I'm like, I don't work for like a Fortune 500 company. Like, I'm not over here trying to get a promotion.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do something on the network. I'm not going to go start my own RSS feed for this thing.
Yeah.
And do you want to reveal just what the idea was? I mean, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, it's your idea, so I'll let you reveal it.
Yeah, and by the way, I have talked to Dave. Like, he's down to, like, he said he'll help us with whatever I need. So the idea with this, it's basically a where are they now of people that have been on the show that had like a bright burning bulb for a little bit on the show. I had people in my mind. I had ideas of like a William Benditson, who in the beginning of the show was like a big storyline on that show. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
was even thought of maybe being a third mic here and there. If you go back and listen to the beginning of the show, he was pitching himself to come on like once a week or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, be a whack pack kind of guy.
A whack pack kind of guy. So I wanted to go back and maybe like if we could get them, and that's the whole point of this, is like, I don't even know if we'll get people to agree to come on and do this with us.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Yeah.
that's the idea, is basically where are they now of people that were once, really involved in the world who are totally like dropped off. Whether that be like even like the Lambley guy was something I was thinking of, like the guy who basically forced Chris Clemmer off of Twitter for like a week.
I would love to check in with him and see what he's got going on.
And see what
Exactly.
he's got going on, and just what their experience was like. Do they think like being on the show was nuts? Like, do they know what the show is? Just shit like that. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there that had kind of had that moment. But maybe this would be like an 8 to 10 part sort of show, and then that's it. It's over, So yeah, Andrew, I'm not gonna go start a fucking RSS feed and like whatever. And when we have the network, like that's the whole point of the fucking network.
Yeah, you know what I think happened is Andrew listened to the Portnoy show where basically he said exactly that. Like people at Barstool just start stuff on your own, take some initiative, and then I think he was just kind of repeating that sentiment without really realizing he was just repeating that something he just heard. But I like Augustus. It's just crazy to me. Sometimes people come out of left field to take shots at you, and I'm like, damn, I didn't know that person had an issue with Daver, but he clearly has some kind of issue with this that predates this little thing because he jumped on your back.
Yeah, he jumped on, and then like I'll. It's just it was, and then he just kept repeating it on Twitter to the point where it just got really, really boring. It's like show some initiative. I'm just trying to give you some advice, and then like advice for what, dude? Like no offense, like did you hear the segment on the last show where they were talking about the intern?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
And it's just like Andrews just repeated himself over. Like Buddy castrated him on air this summer. Castrated him. He fired him on air. He told him he just wanted him to do the news. And like George Costanza on Seinfeld, Andrew just keeps showing up.
He does. And he just keeps plugging away.
It just keeps plugging away. And I'll give him credit on that. When someone tells you they don't want you to talk and you keep talking, good for you. I actually kind of respect that.
Yeah.
But it's like I'll do a quick Andrew impression, and this is him talking about that intern. He's like, well, I was on WPRO, and I'll never forget the first time that I wanted to put that in my Twitter bio. And WPRO. Oh, Andrew, did you work in radio? Did you get canceled by the Huffington Post, Andrew? I didn't know that. I had no clue.
He can't help himself. He can't help himself.
But I mean, I met Andrew. He's a nice dude. So this is just a ball. I hope he doesn't take this too much to heart, but.
No, he won't. He won't. Moving on. What did you think of Red calling you sensitive and thin-skinned? Red and Manners on their show.
Calling the kettle black. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I think once again on Twitter this week too. That was a Twitter thing where I just commented that Red was just a little bit loud on the show that you did with Manners. Like, I put my headphones on, these ones that I have right now, and I went out and snowblowed my driveway. When I listened to your guys' show, we had a snowstorm here in Massachusetts. So threw these on, got the snowblower, and I was out there. And even with the snowblower on, okay, Red was screaming at me. Like to the point where I had to turn the volume down. But the issue was then I couldn't hear you or Menners. Like, you know what I mean?
I thought it was another pretty innocent tweet from you. I think it was like, hey, I like the show, but could you turn that Red's mic down? Just another kind of lighthearted joke, in my opinion, and people were all over you for it. So
I mean, Red starts shooting out, get off my dick in the DMs, and I was like, all right. I mean, I don't think I'm on your dick. I've come out and said that I like your guys' show. Like, is this supposed to be some sort of burn, Red? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, the Red, I like Red, but the Red fans, the Red crew are very sensitive, very feminine in their behavior. They get their panties in a bunch.
They get their panties
often.
But who is the Red crew? Like, who's in that crew? Can we name them?
I'd say Tony from Maine is in that crew. I've been going back and
you're talking about beef. I mean, holy shit.
Yeah.
Would you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, so he's just a guy who, I don't know why he hates me, which doesn't matter. I don't think anybody needs a reason. I've never really liked him, but he's always just kind of jumped in on threads I was in and like defended Red against me or something. He's just basically on Red's nuts. And so he's been chirping me for, a couple years now. So I was like, I'll finally, and I had him blocked on Twitter just because he's someone that I hate so much irrationally that like anytime I see his tweet, I'll just go crazy. So I had him blocked for his own like safety, our own, just keep things separate. I have a couple people like that, but he keeps chirping me. And so finally I'm like, hey, you want to just come on the show and, we'll talk about whatever this conflict is. And then he goes off on this whole thing of like, oh, you just want a bump from me. Like you're trying to get clout and you're so unhinged. I got nothing to say to you, but now he's in my mentions every day.
Dude, so. I saw that every time you tweet now.
Yeah. So he's got a lot, and this is a guy who on Twitter will like threaten to beat people up and stuff, but he won't just come on and have a conversation. So that's kind of
So does
certain
he really
people.
think that you and Red like don't like each other? Do you think that that's where the issue is? Why like he defends him?
Yeah,
So like because it's weird. Like he
yeah.
defends him, but it's like you guys actually do like each other.
Yeah, I think we just have a pretty healthy rivalry. Like we like to go at each other,
Yeah.
but I don't know. He's an interesting guy. I haven't really been able to wrap my head around what's going on with Tony from Maine. But yeah, I mean, he's a huge pussy and he kind of admitted that. He'll still just keep chirping me, but he won't just come on the show and talk it out. So, I mean, where I come from, we call that a pussy.
Yeah.
And he's not one of these guys that's like, oh, I can't show my face because my job. Like he does content and stuff. He just, I don't know. He's got
Yeah, I
no
mean, he's got
excuse.
his name in his bio, if I'm not mistaken. I met him in Maine. He was with like TJ and those guys in Red and stuff. He was nice enough. He's actually in the background of the picture of the that Menners has of like
Oh
me,
yeah.
Florida, and Montante.
Oh yeah.
You see him in the back. He kind of photobombed it. But yeah, we met him
Really?
at the bar that night. He was a nice enough guy.
Well, what do you think of Red and Menners calling Montante racist? They're basically
I mean,
detest
that's their new thing now,
Montante.
huh? Like that's just
They're calling
they're calling
Montante
everybody.
race. Yeah, what is going on with that?
I think so. I mean, we all know Menners is an unhinged liberal lefty lunatic. Like we all,
Yes.
Phil, who doesn't listen to any content about KMS, has been able to gather that through Menners' tweets.
Yep.
Shout out Philly Forklifts.
Shout out Philly Forklifts.
So this is new to me. I did not realize that Red was so. I don't know, like I get the one good point he brought up about like when Jerry's insistence on wanting to use the N-word is a little weird. Like it's beyond
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
wild. That's actually a good take by Red. Like I'm all for it. But now it's just Red's go-to is just like racist. Like racist. Like you're racist.
Yeah. It's a weird instinct. I don't know. I think he used to be better at going back and forth and kind of busting balls, and now he just does this thing where even when I was on the show with him, he'll just shout like, "You don't listen to the show," because like Kirk says that. He's he doesn't have as much originality as he used to. I think he just wants to do like a surface level. Everything is positive. Every week of shows is the best week of shows ever. I mean, he was criticizing me because like I was kind of busting Kirk's balls in the episode, like, oh, like you hate the show. Why don't I think Kirk is a human like everybody else and likes to bust balls and have his balls busted. I don't think it's really that big of a deal. But
Do you think that
sometimes,
Red wants to keep it so positive because now he is like I mean, carries Cullinane's water. I'm a Cullinane guy, and Red just
yeah,
carries that water.
yeah,
So it's like where Menners used to hate Steve, even though he probably really didn't. He kind of played it up. That was his
yeah,
wrestling character.
yeah.
Do you think Menners now, excuse me, Red now, is that his thing where he just has to be super positive about Dave? Dave's never wrong. And he obviously has access to Dave.
Yeah.
So like, do you think that he wants to keep that and wants to cultivate that and he's now playing up a wrestling character basically?
Of course, yeah. He's someone that's been banished by the show in the past and despised, and so I think he was able to rehab his image just by carrying water, and he wants to stay in that sweet spot. Which if that's what you want, go for it. No problem with me.
Yeah, so it's funny now that Menners. So a few months ago, I told Menners, I'm like, you're gonna end up turning on Cullinane because like I feel like your shtick is hating whoever the producer is. No, Dave. No, I won't, Dave. I can't do it as good as Montante, but that was an okay Menners.
Montante's Menners impression is phenomenal.
It's
It is
top notch.
phenomenal.
Like, let's be
Yeah,
honest, that is top notch stuff.
yeah.
Because he can do it for like 3-4. He can carry a conversation. I
He
can do
can.
it for like a second. But and now he's totally hating on Cullinane. So now I think the dynamic of the show is that Menners does that part where he hates everything Cullinane does.
Mm-hmm.
Red loves everything Cullinane does, which makes for entertaining content. Like, hey, I'm not knocking it. Do what you got to do. But I
Yeah.
wonder how much of it is actually real, I guess is what I'm asking or what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes Red, even when Cullinane will do something that he admits is stupid, like Red will still try to defend it. But he's just doing his character. Let him have his fun. I think it's a little more interesting if there's like they don't really challenge each other enough on certain things, in my opinion. I like shows where people are challenging each other. I think it's the most interesting content, but Red seems to think conflict is not that interesting. But everybody has their preferences. All right, I want to move along. Did you see on Twitter this week some lady named Amanda Smith absolutely body Jared Carrabis? Please tell me you saw that.
So I saw you tweet about it. It was the mental health thing. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up just so I could read exactly what was said. He said, Jared said, if they start canceling games, I'm going to do a cannonball into a fucking volcano. And some lady quote tweeted it and said, not sure if the baseball gods accept virgin sacrifices, but it's worth a try. And then he went off on this whole diatribe about like another person who has a million mental health tweets, but will also encourage suicide because they don't like your employer, like more completely normal behavior. I mean, is he like, I've never been more right about anything in my life. He's a humorless.
I mean, for him to take that joke and turn it into she's encouraging him to commit suicide is a wild reach. I mean, that's a crazy reach. Crazy.
That's a huge leap. Someone who's like has that behavior, I can't believe they were ever on KMS, because KMS is kind of like the antithesis of doing that.
Well, let's be honest. Kirk treated Jared with kid gloves. Jared
the whole time.
Kid gloves. Like he wouldn't, like anyone else that would come on and wouldn't know what was going on in the show if they were like not like Ryan Whitney wouldn't be expected. He comes on once every 6 months or whatever, so he's not expected to like know everything that goes on in the show. But like you come on once a week. You were a once a week guest at one point. You can't be bothered to listen to the other 2 episodes before you came on.
Yeah, I mean,
so he treated him with kid gloves that way. He treated him with kid gloves as far as like, Jared is a fanboy, blah, blah, blah. Let him get away. Like, I get that part of it, but like, basically, that's humorless. Like, if like, that is a crazy reach. That's a crazy reach.
What do you think about how the show lineup is right now with Mike twice a week and Chris once a week? Is there someone you would want to see take a day away from Mike, or maybe add on to? I'll give you how I would think it should go right now. I think Mike should be in on every show, even the shows with Clemmer. And then maybe on the Monday or Wednesday, if you want to, you can add a guy like, I mean, people will laugh at this, but I would like to see Shattuck go in every now and then just to hear Kirk shit on him. Like everything, there's not enough shitting on each other going on in that studio for my liking right now. Everybody's getting along too well.
Yeah, Mike's brilliant right now. Like Mike's found his spot. Like it's like he knows the jokes that he makes. He actually makes genuinely Kirk actually laugh now. Kirk's not giving pity laughs. Like he knows when to jump in, he knows when to jump out. He's riding that wave. Chris. So here's what I'll say about like Fridays with Chris. I do agree with you. Mike should be in, but I just don't think then that like that might be too many voices at that point. You might have to turn off like calling Mike that day or something like that. Like not to knock Dave. I'm just saying like 4 people.
Yeah, he could be quiet. Obviously I think he'd still have a mic, but he doesn't need to carry as much conversation if there would be other people in there. I think it'd be interesting to see what Mike and Chris would be like together.
Yeah. Now, listen, I agree. Like, I like movies and stuff. I think that Chris bogs Kirk down in that talk every Friday. Like, you're going to get a good half hour, 45 minutes of like movie stuff, which I probably could do with like 15 or 20 minutes tops. And I'm a movie guy. I love movie TV shows. The game is awful. The games are awful. That's gotta go. Like
games are bad.
The game's bad. Like, but here's what I'll say. The peeling back every week of Kirk of another layer of Kirk does another layer of Chris's like personality is interesting to me. Like us finding out that Chris had an unbelievable 30s and now he's able to retire. In the 40s. Did you catch this Friday when he basically he doesn't work? He goes to the movies every day. They have no kids. He doesn't cut his own fucking grass. He has a fucking landscaper. That's banana land.
It's amazing. He lives the fucking dream.
No, he does. So I'm on a group thread with like a couple of buddies that listen to Kirk, and they're just like, dude, like honestly, I'm kind of jealous of that guy. Like, what the fuck?
And I like when they were talking about going down to Mississippi, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm gonna go a week early and just hit New Orleans, you know, so I won't be in for the shows like before that." Like that's just he's living the dream. But do you think he's at a point where he should be taking a week off of Kirk shows? Because you know, pretty quickly, Kirk brings someone else. We could have a Wally Pipp situation pretty quickly.
Oh, absolutely. Someone comes in and does like a great job, or just like a random, or Kirk decides that he just enjoys doing it solo that day. Like, let's say Kirk just does it and just feels like, you know what, I could do this by myself every once in a while. He could just decide, you know what, Clemmer, stay home. So yeah, that's definitely a risk he's taking. I loved his line when he said, "Am I performing in Mississippi?" That was
he'll never live that down. He's never gonna live that one down.
Phenomenal. But yeah, it's just like I think that the peeling back of Chris and his life and stuff like that is interesting. I do think that they could move off of other topics quicker on Fridays. But I do like, I don't know if Mike 3 days a week by himself, I do like the change up. Maybe both of them together, like you said, would work.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's other people in Boston that would be awesome on that day. That just none of them would go on with Kirk anymore. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like crazy. Some of them don't even work in the business anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
he seems to have a hesitancy to kind of go back to retreading old guests that a lot of you EEI people want him to have. I don't know enough about some of those old like radio guys, Boston radio guys, to have a real opinion on it, but it does seem to be a very like intentional effort for him to never have any of those guys in.
Yeah, like for instance, I'm not saying every week, but I think a Tangley episode would be fucking awesome. Like so many people would love that. Like, you know,
I hear a lot of people say that. I don't know enough about him, but the way Kirk shits on him on the show, I just want people in there that he could shit on again.
VD. Gary Tanguay walked out of the studio an hour into. I'll send you the YouTube clip, dude. It's on YouTube.
I've seen that clip. I've seen it. Yeah.
I mean, it's Kirk shit on this guy so bad. He called him like a child molester to the point where Gary took it to heart so much that he walked out of the show. I mean, it was great stuff. And I'm not saying every week. I get Kirk doesn't want to go back, but I don't know. If Clemmer's gone like that Tuesday, why not reach out to Gare Bear and see if like, hey, want to come in and have fuck around for an hour? You know?
Yeah, I see. I love that because Kirk is so good at needling people and just kind of like pushing them gently and just getting them to snap. But like Mike, where Mike is right now, he's not gonna snap. And where Mike is, he's not going to snap anymore because he knows just back down. Clemmer is kind of the same, just back down. So
I'm a little disappointed in that. Can I be honest with you?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I thought Clemmer was going to break. I thought Clemmer was going to break because I think when he started this project, man, like he really went into this project at a theater near me with like, hey, I'm going to make this like a really big, good, awesome podcast. Like I'm going to really do this. You know what I mean? And now listen, it's big. It's big. Like, did you catch the sponsorship dollars he's getting? Did you catch that on Friday?
Remind me what he said.
So it's $50 a read. And he said that a couple of people booked for the month.
Yeah.
So think about it. You're doing 3 shows, 3-4 shows a week is what he does. I'm not sure. I don't listen.
I think 3. Yeah. Sometimes 3 or 4. Yeah.
All right. So we're talking, $800, $1,000 a month off of each sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, so the podcast itself is doing well. What I'm saying is I think he thought it would be like, I didn't think he thought he would be the butt of like the joke. Like it's a running storyline even when Mike's there.
I disagree. I think he probably knew what he was getting into. It maybe if he didn't know it before he started, he knew it like pretty quickly that he was going to be the butt of the joke. But I mean,
he's not breaking. You're right. He's not breaking.
It's going to end with him breaking though. He will break at some point. He will get chewed up and spit out just like everybody else.
Him ditching Carano so quick, I think also helped him.
Yeah. I mean, threw him under the bus real quick, which
I probably would have broken him if he stayed with Carano. Like if he had still kept, Quantum Week Chris or whatever, like that could have broken him. but he kind of let that go, and that was one thing that
Yeah.
saved him from getting broken.
Yeah. So let's talk about you probably feel the same way as I do about this, but Kirk talking retirement for like 15 minutes and then
Not happening. It's
changing.
not
Yeah,
happening.
not okay. Yeah. My only angle on question about this is, and perhaps Cullinane knew what he was getting into, but if you're a Cullinane, you got 2 kids, and you hear that, oh, maybe my job is done, in a couple months or whatever. Is it fair for Kirk to kind of be floating that over his head?
Yes.
It's fair. I mean, I guess Cullinane knows what he's getting into, but it's not the most considerate thing in the world to do.
No, but Kirk has talked about retirement. If you listen to Kirk, which Cullinane has since EEI, okay?
Yeah.
There's no way Dave goes into this thinking that 5 years from now I'm going to be working for Kirk Minihan. There's no fucking way. This is purely a stopgap. This is a resume builder. This is, hey, my email has at Barstool. This is for his next job. Like, let's be realistic. This is for his next job or his next, like, it's a great resume pattern. He was an employee at Barstool Sports for whatever, a year or two, a producer for a pretty big fucking podcast for a year or two. Like, this allows him his next earning opportunity. This is what it allows him. There's no way any day could be the last with Kirk. I mean, how many breaks has Kirk taken? Like,
Yeah.
there's no way any sane person goes into this thinking, which is, I think, why Steve broke. I don't think Steve knew as much about Kirk as I don't think he did his due diligence, basically.
Yeah. Well, I think Steve definitely came from the school of like wanting to make as much money as possible. Like, let's take this thing to the moon.
And also remember, BD, this is like, you weren't a Boston listener. Steve met Kirk while, Kirk broke the Boston Globe story, right? Like, Kirk was doing investigative stuff. He went on Howie Carr's show. I think Steve thought, oh, there's this radio guy for, sports radio. There's no way Steve listened to EI. There's no fucking way.
No shot.
No shot. So he's like, oh, this guy who's into politics, who does investigative stuff. Oh, I can fucking, and then I think about 6 months in, he's like, whoa, this ain't it. This is not it. But whereas Cullinane is the opposite. Fucking Cullinane knows absolutely what he's getting himself into.
Yeah, I think that's my take too. It still must be a little bit worrying, and it's tough for him because I think it would be tough for him to be even retained by Barstool since he's in Boston. Like, you couldn't really be a remote producer. It'd be kind of tough for him. But like you said, it looks good on the resume, and hopefully the show just keeps going on.
So I think there's something that did come out of that episode, though, that Kirk said was kind of interesting, and I do want to touch on it if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
So he said something about he had quit Barstool for 2 hours. Do you believe that statement or not? Or he was close to quitting Barstool for 2 hours on a Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little over dramatized, but I believe it. I mean, look, my brain's kind of the same way. I'm always like, I can be in a bad mood and have just radical thoughts about like, oh, I'm going to move to Idaho or something. And then the next day I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I was talking about. Kirk's crazy person. He seems to me like someone, his rationale of like the show is kind of boring to me. Like he's just done it so many times. That's something I totally understand. I think he's at his best when he's fired up or intellectually or comedically stimulated, and probably the show's not as good as it used to be because he just, maybe now it feels like he's just getting reps in, and there's still really good shows and they're solid, but kind of just that hunger of working on a new project from the beginning, I think is what made it have such a good run. So if he's feeling bored, I mean, I'd rather have him start something new than just half-ass KMS for, a couple more years. I think he's always going to be at his best when he's excited about doing the show. But I did kind of agree with Menner's take. Like, he could just do it once a week, and that way the Twitter world would stay alive. It would die a little bit, but it would, people wouldn't fully like move on or tap out. And
so I kind of have like a lower, like not a conspiracy theory, I don't think, but I think someone else might have touched on this too. I don't think I'm the only one, but so he said he almost quit Barstool on Saturday. Do you think any of this has anything to do with his criticism of Erica on the shows the week before? Do you think that like there's any sort of fallout there where he's like, I don't know, where they're just kind of like maybe fed up with him, he's fed up with them a little bit, like, and that has anything to do with any of this? Like, have they told him no on something maybe with the case? Like, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that Kirk wants to do. He's talked about projects and stuff like
Mhm.
that. Do you think there's anything behind the scenes that he's asked for, that he's pitched and has kind of been shot down? And maybe Erica definitely does not interact with him as much anymore on Twitter, nowhere, Do you think there's
Yeah.
anything there as far as that goes? And that's why Kirk is like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this for them.
I think well, he does just take shots at her from like the clouds, and then it's like, I wonder why she
Exactly, yeah.
doesn't like interacting with me. But I don't think she takes it that seriously. She probably just like, oh, I don't have time to deal with Kirk on Twitter right now.
Yeah.
I think she's got enough shit going on. I think a lot of people can be overwhelmed by the Minifans like getting on every tweet and stuff. Not even if they're going at her, but just
Just the comment. Yeah.
it's a force. It's just a
Yeah.
force that. So I don't think she has any hostility towards him, and I think he's just a shitster, and his thoughts are always racing, and I don't
So
think
you
there's
don't think
anything.
there's anything behind the scenes Barstool wise that caused him to
I don't.
like kind of
I
be
don't
like
think
that?
there's anything real, but I think he probably maybe has a perception of like, oh, maybe she doesn't like me, like an insecurity or something. But I think if he sits down and thinks about it, what he always does, where he's like, oh, they've been the best bosses to me. They let me do whatever I want. They let me go away whenever I need to. Like, there's not that much you could ask for. I mean, Kirk's just a shit stirrer, so he's always just going to be getting his nose into something.
So my theory is just a little bit too far out there then, you're thinking.
No, I think that there's something there. Like, I think he might feel that, like, oh, Barstool's kind of turning a cold shoulder to me, but I think he's just in his feelings. I don't think there's anything legitimate to back it up, but who knows? I think if there was something said behind the scenes, he would have mentioned it pretty quickly. Like,
So let me ask something before you go to your next topic. What do you think about when they do talk about like the case or the other stuff that they're doing? Like when they start doing the vague stuff, like, oh, call it like, do you know what I'm
oh
saying?
yeah, yeah,
That I don't know why it irrationally annoys me.
me too. But I think it's designed to annoy us
Oh yeah,
because
no, I know he's doing
yeah,
it on purpose, no
yeah,
doubt. So it's
yeah.
working, just so you know, it's fucking working.
Yeah, I mean, he did it even more with season 1 of the case,
Oh
where like
yeah,
he wouldn't even say what it was or what it was called or what it was about. So I think it's a well executed troll move, and I know it probably bothers a lot of people for sure.
yeah. Then they'll be like, oh, call this guy, and I'll be like, oh, geez, what the fuck are they like? I just want to know
What
what
are
they're talking about.
what what are your expectations for season 2 of the case? It's going to be like about the dentist thing. It seems like so. It could be interesting. I don't know. It's gonna
It
be
could be. I'll be honest with you. The whole time that when that happened, when that news broke and Kirk like saw him, so like, oh shit, I went to that doctor, whatever, and they did that whole episode. I don't
Mhm.
know. It didn't really catch me. I just
Yeah,
like, all right, people got whatever at the fucking dentist. The dentist was a dickhead. I'm sure it's way more than that, but like, I don't
y-
know. It didn't really catch my drift. But Kirk's super talented, so I'm obviously going to give it a shot, and hopefully, like, I do get like a storyline that catches you because, like, oh shit, whatever. But
yeah.
I
I
don't know.
think
I'm not super excited like I was for season 1 of the case.
I think it'll be better than season 1 just because inherently it's something that's not as heavy and serious, and it's a good balance of something where it was quote unquote traumatic experience from when you're younger, but you can still kind of joke about it. It's not like solving a double rape murder where you can't
Yeah.
really be busting jokes about that. It'll have a little, and it's one of those weird things out of left field that I could see having success just because it's a very unique concept, but that's pretty much where my expectations are, is that it'll just be better than season 1, and let's see if they could pull it off. I think if they make it a conscious effort to make it a little more lighthearted and stuff, it'll be better. Like
Yeah,
a
but I
less
guess not. I guess like Dave has been criticized, right, for trying to do like lighthearted. Where did you catch that on the show?
true.
Where
Yeah,
Dave
yeah.
and then Kirk's like, oh well, like so. I don't know if lighthearted is what they're gonna go for on this.
Yeah, I think Kirk just gets embarrassed by Cullinane, when he's like, kind of like on your show when Phil asks a question that you don't like and you're
Oh,
under your breath, you're like, Phil, we already asked him that. Shut up. That's my favorite part of your show is one of you asking a question and then all the other ones just like, don't fucking ask that question. You all bicker at each other. It's great.
yeah, we are
Let's get in.
like a bunch of hens. We do bigger.
Yeah. Uh, Something that was brought up on the show this week, and correct me if I'm wrong. Did you used to work at a bar at an airport, right?
So no, I was I know that Sig sent out a thing that I've never been in the business world, when he was criticizing
Oh yeah, yeah.
my DMs to Cullinane, that you DM again. But no, I was actually a general manager for multi-unit for a sandwich shop at the airport. So
Okay, yeah.
yeah,
So
I ran a Terminal B and Terminal C sandwich shop at Logan Airport. Yep.
so they said they had a discussion on the show that they don't like the way pilots walk around the airport. Are pilots cocky
Oh,
assholes?
cock of the they nailed it. They
Yeah,
fucking nailed it. Dude,
yeah,
cock of the walk. They would come in line and like 4-star generals and just look at you. And then if you were out of like, dude, we'd run out of things. Like it was tough getting deliveries in the airport, everything. What people don't realize is like just like you have to be like checked before you come through
hmm
the gate, every like delivery, food wise, is checked off site. Okay.
hmm
And then it's delivered by the airport staff. Dude, we'd get shit that belonged to McDonald's. They'd be getting shit that belonged to us. Like it's a fucking
yeah,
shit. It was one of the hardest parts of the job was tracking down where the fuck your order was when it was delivery
yeah,
day. All right. Anyway, long story short, we'd be out of tomatoes or some shit like that for the sandwich. These guys would just be like, look at you like I fly a fucking plane. You guys can't even get tomatoes in here. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like they are they walk around with the general things. They nailed it. They fucking absolutely nailed it.
They do kind of like present themselves in the same vein as like first responders, cops, firefighters, and like they kind of think they're in that crowd when they're really not.
But VD, I'm also telling you, man, like I swear to God, they nailed the profile of it because I didn't never saw an overweight fucking pilot. Like these guys
Yeah,
are all fucking 40, 50 years old. Like you could tell in their 20s they were fucking slaying puss like you read about. Like these
yeah,
like carry themselves like shoulders back, the whole fucking nine, dude. They
yeah.
nailed the profile. They absolutely nailed the profile.
I think in general pilots and flight attendants, you're always traveling. I think they fuck a lot. I think like you stay in random cities a lot with your work schedule and stuff. I think that's like a known thing. They get down.
And
They
I
like
also
to
think that
party.
like they fucking hire these people. Like I bet you looks are a big part of it, especially flight attendants. Like let's be real. I mean, especially
Yeah,
back in the day. Maybe not so much now with the PC culture we live in, but back in the
yeah.
day, dude, flight attendants were they were hot. Like they had to be hot.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Um, I want to talk a little bit about the most recent episode of Talking Loud, Saying Nothing.
Uh oh.
A great interview. I know I'm going to be very complimentary. I think I
Oh
already was privately to you. But anytime someone sends me something about the music business, I'm like this might not be good just because there's a lot of people that have takes, and I was going back and forth with Cullinane about this, where people are like, "Oh, Spotify don't pay art." There's just a lot of misinformed,
yes.
lazy takes from people outside the industry that usually get passed around as fact. But this guy, he was the remind me his name.
So his name's Donnie Klang. He won season 4 of Making the Band on MTV.
Hmm.
He was signed to a solo contract with Bad Boy Records, obviously owned by Sean Diddy Combs. So yeah, he won that season. So it was pretty interesting conversation we had with him.
Yeah, and he actually, he was spitting real facts about kind of the darker side of the industry and how some of these people get. That's another thing I hear is like, oh, record labels don't pay artists enough. And I'm like, well, you kind of have to sign a predatory contract sometimes because otherwise you're never going to get a break. So it's like you might as well be famous in a bad contract than
And then, like
not
he said, you can
famous.
always renegotiate or make it back. If you make it,
Yeah.
you make it on the tours and shit. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. It's just the way it is. And it's funny. He mentioned Scooter Braun, who growing up, his mother was my orthodontist.
Fucking bit.
Great lady, great orthodontist. And then he mentioned
That's crazy.
Lady
That's
Gaga's.
fucking crazy, dude. Your life is stupid. But go ahead.
he was just he's just from my town, so he was obviously not famous before like Bieber or anything. Uh, and then he mentioned Lady Gaga's manager, who was a man I worked for several years, Troy Carter. That was pretty funny to me. And I actually, while I was working for Troy Carter, Erica Nardini was working for a company that Scooter Braun was invested in called Follow, which was basically like Twitter, but you had to like pay for it. They basically were just trying to nickel and dime fans, like you got to pay to see our tweets.
To see the tweets.
But I met with Nardini back then, and then 5 or 6 years later, she's at Barstool. That was pretty funny, and he talked about Diddy, which I think was funny too, because I've had a few run-ins with Diddy where his son, who played football at UCLA, was neighbors with my parents. And so his son would be having big ass parties at his crib, just like nice ass crib in Beverly Hills. I go over there. He was always super cool to me. Bumped into Diddy a few times there. He'd just give us cases of Ciroc.
So is that Justin?
Justin Combs, yeah.
Yeah, so Justin, here's a fun fact for you. Justin Combs, I believe, owns 50% of Mace's catalog.
Really?
Yeah. So that's a music fun fact. For like his 16th birthday or something, Diddy gave him 50% of Mace's catalog.
That's cool. For how
well, that's cool for you. That's one of the contentious points with Mace and Diddy, though, is that whole.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like basically, like you're giving this shit out as like a gift, and that's like my fucking life. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy.
It's a hard pill to swallow for Mace for sure, but for as crazy of a life as I'm sure Justin Combs has had, he was a really humble, cool dude, nice kid. And I bumped into Diddy once. I can't remember if I was in Miami or something, and I was just like, "Yo, I live. My parents live next to Justin. Like, I've linked up with you a few times." And he was like, "Oh yeah, you could chill with me." And I like went to some after. I think it was in Miami. Went to some after party like in Miami that he was doing. So he's always been a cool guy. I think he gets a bad reputation for being kind of a shitbag, but I mean, a lot of successful people are pretty.
Every successful person.
Comes to business,
There's no billionaire out there. There's no billionaire out there who has not been called a piece of shit by multiple. There's not a billion out there that didn't fucking step on someone's fucking neck to get there. Like you have the nature of having $1 billion is you have to be ruthless to people that you were probably really cool with or might even love. Like that comes with the territory,
That's how it goes.
So Troy Carter, is that Akon's brother?
No, he's a little.
Wasn't Akon involved with Lady Gaga in the beginning as well too?
He might have been. I know his first artist was like Eve. I think Eve was his first artist that he managed that blew up, and then Lady Gaga, and then after Lady Gaga, he had a bunch of big artists there. But yeah, I don't think he's related to Akon. He's from Philly. He's like grew up with kind of Will Smith. Like he used to be in a rap group that was signed to Will Smith's label back in the day, but he is an interesting dude.
Yeah.
It's
so funny how these dudes like start off and then they kind of gravitate towards behind the scenes because they got to see that's where the fucking actual money is.
Absolutely. And he was a very, kind of similar to how Nas has been very active in like investing in things in tech. He was the same. Yeah, he was the same way. He was like an angel investor in Uber and all these things. So he made big time money.
The lives that they lead, like there's the music industry itself too. Like there's an underbelly, especially like with 90s and early 2000s rap that I'm thinking like I would love to explore deeper, but I just don't know if I have like the capabilities of it. Someone like you, an investigator, like the cross fixing of like, gangsters, like real fucking gangsters that like infiltrated the music industry and were like went from hangers on to like executives or just kind of extorted these rappers too, like in the beginning. It's crazy. There's a book out there by Ethan Brown. It's called Queens Reign Supreme. I would suggest anyone that's like interested in that shit to read it. It's literally gets into like, because you hear these names in these guys' songs where they shout them out, and then you read about who these guys are, and like then you see them as like they're executives. They're a vice president at Columbia Records all of a sudden. It's fucking nuts, the crossover that happened.
Yeah, and I think more recently there's been even like more positive less predatory examples of it, like the quality control guys down in Atlanta who have like Migos, Lil Baby, all those guys. I mean, they were, one of them was in jail and like got out of jail and then became kind of started running things with Coach K, like, and now they're like a little incubator where anybody like from Atlanta that wants to, Lil Baby was in jail and they're like, I remember, so Capital, who my dad worked for, they own Motown, who partnered with Quality Control, which was like Migos and them. And I remember my dad telling me like a year before Lil Baby ever really dropped a song, like, oh yeah, they got this new guy like Lil Baby. He gets out of jail in like 6 months, and then he's gonna be the next one like on their label that they're putting their weight behind. And so it's pretty cool how they kind of have like little farm systems where they kind of just put each other on and do songs with each other. But I remember like just hearing about him and then watching him all of a sudden get famous as fuck out of nowhere. I was like, oh yeah, I remember
And
that.
you already
that
knew that. That's fucking cool.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you that like while we're transitioning here.
Mm-hmm.
The BAP guys, all right?
Yeah.
I find them now pretty interesting. I'm glad they're on the network. Me and Mick, like his tweets, I end up finding I have actually quite a bit in common with him. He's younger than me, but like similar sort of like way of going about things. How off base was Menners calling them racist like that? That was wild.
I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't understand his logic at all because they said they started a conspiracy, which I actually thought was very funny, that he's not even from Australia. Like Menners.
I mean, is he though?
Is he? I haven't seen any proof.
Steve Irwin, Jamie, Jackson.
Yeah.
Menners looks nothing like these people.
So that's their point. And then they said, you look like you're from New Jersey, which to me, the implication is New Jersey is known as kind of the armpit of America, Montante, just trash people. And, they're usually pretty proud about that. And his logic was Adam the Jew is from New Jersey. So they're saying I look Jewish. And so I DM'd him right when I saw that. Heard, what are you talking about? I don't understand. And he explained that to me.
Like, what's a further reach? Carabas with the suicide talk, or Menners calling those guys anti-Semitic?
I honestly, this hurts me to say, but I think Menners was the bigger reach. I mean, it was totally out of left field.
So do you think that he knows that Adam is the only guy from New Jersey that he knows? Like, did he forget Montante's from New Jersey?
I guess so. His reasoning was there's a prominent Minifan, which he called Adam the Jew, a prominent Minifan.
Oh, Jesus!
A red flag. Is there a way to
add a fourth person to the Holy Trinity of boring?
yeah, you could throw him on there. He's first off the bench. He's first off the bench. So I'd have to say Menners. That was a bigger reach. You have anything else before we get into listener questions? Anything?
Yeah, I do. Show? One more thing. You brought up Montante. Any chance that you would ever do content with him again? Like, whatever.
I did it. I did a show with him. We were both on John from Scranton and BA's show like last week. My animosity towards Montante has died down quite a bit. Especially since he also hates red now. So, I like, I'm going to align my...
I get unsolicited texts from Montante about red.
So what is the genesis of their beef? Can you explain it to me? Because I don't even know.
Red knows he can push Montante's button. Mm-hmm. So he does it. It drives Montante crazy. That's the genesis.
Pretty much. Okay, pretty much.
That's it.
I mean, they do call him racist, so I guess and he kind of I like Montante because he just leans into it. He
just leans into it. He fucking goes all of it.
Yeah, he leans right into it.
All right, so that's good to hear. Because I honestly, you calm him down on Montante's world. So I think my favorite episodes that he has are with you. So I think it would be a shame if you didn't do like some more content together.
I'm sure we'll do another show together soon. But I got no hard feelings towards Montante.
Good stuff.
All right, listener questions. This one's from Court Minahan. How does it make you feel knowing that Ziggy lives in fear? Thank you, Court Minahan, for that question. That makes me feel good, actually. I had no idea. I had no idea to the extent that Ziggy lives in fear, but just hearing Menners say that Ziggy behind the scenes is DMing him like, oh, don't even bring me up with VD, don't wake up the beast. That honestly, anytime I'm at work, That's all I need. Every time I see him tweet, I just get a big old smile on my face, and I'll just send him a nice little text or something, and it just gives me like a nice 10 to 15 minutes of serotonin. But I hope Ziggy comes out of the shadows and does
So I
content
was going to
again.
ask that. Do you think we're getting to a point where Ziggy would be a candidate to go on our Where Are They Now Minifan show?
Absolutely. I mean,
Like, you talk about a guy who totally lost his fastball once Steve went away. I mean, at least Menners has transitioned a little bit. Ziggy's dead.
He's dead. He didn't even make the GV bracket. He wasn't even considered. Sorry about your loss in the GV bracket, by the way. I know that hit you pretty hard.
Oh, that murdered me. Hey, listen, I couldn't lose to a better guy. Killer's the man.
That is true. That's a good loss. I think he's still in it. I think he's making a run. Let's see. This one's from Philly Forklifts. Why does Menners love the vaccine so much and lockdowns? Is it because he has no social skills? I think so.
Wow.
I mean, he likes to just call people racist from the comfort of his own little hobbit hole. And I think if he had to go out,
he calls people cunts all the time.
dickhead. He likes that one. He likes that one. Yeah, Menners has been a little bit cold recently. He had some good stuff on this latest episode. First 10 minutes were good, but when it got into the KMS stuff, I think he doesn't have that same passion he once had. Someone sent me a clip recently of like 2020 Menners on Menners Live, prime Menners taking calls, just screaming at people.
Oh.
It made me miss the old days. I wish he would swallow his pride and just go on the network, but he does a lot of taking from the show, and I just feel like he doesn't give enough back. He was supposed to call in. He promised me and Red that he was going to call in and confront Cully, and then he pulls some bullshit excuse like, "Oh, my kids are being really annoying." I'm like, dude, you do 100 shows a week. You don't care about your kids. Don't even try to tell me you care about. And plus, his kids are like, I think they're teenagers.
Aren't they 32?
It's not like they're babies, So really sad from Menners. I hope he calls the show this week. I'm gonna stay on his ass until he does. Let's see here. I should have pulled up these questions before if I was smart.
So actually, next, what do you think? I have a listener question. What do you think of Menners planning his trip after the Wilbur to Boston? That makes no sense, by the way.
No sense.
Like, no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And I think
I started to do that, and I was like, "What the fuck? Like, why? Like, what do you? Does he think that Kirk's gonna like invite him in studio? Like, I think he thinks that deep down. I think he thinks that.
He definitely not that deep down, by the way. Like, you don't have to dig too deep down to where he starts just getting into his. That's my favorite part of his show is he gets in these daydreaming like sequences.
Oh, I'll be producing for Kirk on the Southwest.
Yeah, exactly. But I think if he was smart, like I said, Chris is taking a week of shows off before the Mississippi. Like, if Menners was smart, he'd fly to Boston that week and just say, I'm in Boston. I want to do the show. And I would like to hear him get in studio once because it is his life dream. It's his life dream.
But the fact that funny. Kirk knows that, he'll never do it.
I know, but it would be so good. I would pay for that. I would absolutely pay.
Do you think Menners would go as far as to like Nancy Kerrigan and Clemmer on the way to the studio on a Thursday?
I wouldn't put it past him. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't put. I would be worried if I was Cullinane as well. I mean, Cullinane might go up missing.
Too. The producing aspect of it more. Yeah, good call. All right, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead with your questions. My apologies.
This one's from Lauren Lynn. How can the weekly game segment be saved?
Can't.
What would just trash it?
It was funny in the beginning, especially because the music. I think they all like the music more than anything. I just don't know. Like Chris, for him to take 2 weeks and come up with that fucking game on Friday it's 71 through 75 and 70. Like what?
That was tough.
If it takes you more than 4 minutes to explain a game, don't do it, man.
That was tough. That was tough. I think he'll probably learned a lesson there that he's got to keep it simple. But I mean, they said they're going to keep going with this. I don't think it lasts that version of the game. But yeah, I think he needs to do something to stay innovative. The game was nice and fresh at first, but let's not let things get stagnant. I know it's I don't even know what I would suggest, but bring something else, switch the game up a little. I do like the ones where he tries to make Cullinane just look stupid.
Yeah,
So maybe
like that.
lean into that.
If I'm Chris, I lean into that rivalry a little bit more. Like
Yeah, and
I stirred. If you want to stay fresh, stir it up with Cully a little bit more. Like really get in his grill.
one thing I will say is Cullinane, throughout the week, his little under the breath chirps kind of about, oh, well, Thursday shows, like you got to take what you
Oh,
can get. And so
they're
they're
great.
great.
They're great.
So
Absolutely. He's leaning into it. He's like, hey, what do you want to do, man? It's fucking Chris is here. Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, I enjoy those. Those make me chuckle every time. Okay, we got from, speaking of Killer Kowalski, we got a marry, fuck, kill with the Kirk and Off boys. I'll go first. I would marry BMD. I would fuck Buddy, and I would kill Augustus. I think D would be a good husband.
Yeah, no, he's cuddly, hairy. He works a lot. You know what I mean? He works
Soft spoken.
Military pension. So when he dies, like you're good. 1000% you marry BMD. 1000% you marry BMD.
Yeah.
I'd probably hate fuck Augustus and kill Buddy.
You just kill Buddy like that? Your co-host?
Yeah, because he's a little shit. Let's get back to like what he threw me under the bus on Kirk and Off too. Like he had his little comments where he's like, "Oh, you know, Daver, like I'm surprised he didn't keep DMing. You know, he annoys the shit out of everybody." Like, oh, really, buddy? You know, like he had my back for a second, and then he turned on me like super quick.
Yeah, there was something there. I'd have to do my research to find out what the origin of that. But he was quick to just push you down, very quick.
Oh. And then the whole point of it is he's DMing on the side, getting me riled up. So I just want Augustus to know that little snake fucking Buddy, you know, is definitely a little snake in the grass. But yeah, I'd hate fuck Augustus. I'd marry BMD. The military pension would be phenomenal. And Buddy's dead.
Yeah, BMD, the consensus marry has to be. This is also from Killer. Why does Daver secretly hate Montante?
It's not that much of a secret. Like I don't get it. No, I don't hate Montante. Me and Montante get along swimmingly. Actually, we have a nice $5 MLS parlay that we have going on right now too. That we kind of split up to. Nice. Hopefully, we'll be worth $100,000 in a few hours. It's not going to happen, but
no tension. Like, no tension about him getting bets in for you or anything.
Oh no, there's tension with us all the time. Like we fucking go at it. Like I know you hate the gambling chat, but like me and him go at it in the chat all the time. There's always tension, but in the end, dude, we're obviously friends. We're boys.
All right, let's see. What was this next one? You're a restaurant biz guy. Do you know there's a lot of concern about Dave Cullinane losing his pizza place? First, I'll ask you, should a pizza place be buying their sauce or making it?
So I was a general manager for Papa Ginos. A lot of people do not know that. Kirky's Papa Ginos. I was a GM there.
Fact.
Yeah, fun fact. Their pizza is fantastic. I can attest to that. Like there was what Kirk said when that slice comes right out of the oven. BD, I'm telling you, man, that's why I got this belly. We would cook that first pie in the morning, and it was almost impossible for your boy Dave to not grab a slice out there. Before
I would not do well.
You know,
I wouldn't do well working at a pizza place.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough.
I'd be like chain smoking slices all day, just like 1 hour.
So a local, like a home, like a family sort of pizza place, you got to make your own sauce, dude.
You got to make your sauce.
You can't be buying your sauce from Restaurant Depot. Like if I can go into Restaurant Depot, like we can't have the same sauce, me and you. If you're gonna turn around and sell me this pizza for like fucking $17, we can't do that.
And like a pizza sauce is pretty basic to me. I mean, it's hard to be good. Obviously, not all sauces are created equal, but it's not like crazy work goes into making your own sauce.
So if basically he used to make his own sauce and he doesn't anymore, we're at the point where it'd be like Kirk doing a show once a week. It's time to actually defend it. It's time to end it. It's time to either close the business down or sell it. Like, and now that word's gotten out, dude, like that kind of sucks for that guy. If word's gotten out that he's not making his own sauce anymore, that's a killer.
It's a little bit of a black eye on the business for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Someone asked about Wolves. I mean, I can't talk about Wolves right now. It's been brutal. To drop 3 games in a row when you're right on the verge of Europe has been challenging.
But they're not a European team yet, VD. They're not a European team yet.
We were the first year we came up to the Premier League, you know. Look, I'm fine with that not being the expectations, but ownership came out 2 years ago and said, in 5 years, we want to be hosting Champions League games. So if you're going to dream big, deliver big, back the manager, let's get some young guys in. We need a striker.
You
and
need a
let's go
striker.
for it.
You need a striker. You don't have a premier. You don't have a European quality striker at the moment. You just don't.
Yeah, I mean, Raul, it's obviously hard to say because he had that terrible injury, but he should
even
just come
after Raul, like obviously Fabio, hasn't worked out. Like to me, a European team has two attackers that they can. Like you have to have a rotation. You know what I mean? Like you can't just rely on one guy to be getting you all your goals.
Yeah, and I think it's almost better. I think we're not ready for Europe. Sometimes if you go into Europe and you don't have a ton of depth, which we don't, like you can get really exposed. And we're not a team that should ever be worrying about relegation. But if you're very thin and you're in Europe and the league, it can really stretch you and you can get yourself into a little bit of trouble.
And a relegation battle for 1,000%. So I just want everyone to know, too, that my idea for this show today, if VD had listened to me, we would have done this for a whole hour. And not acknowledged anything at all. Just talk soccer for like an hour.
Talk soccer. Oh, well, we'll be doing that for some college football. We're a week out of spring ball. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I mean, Mario Cristobal on an absolute roll. Getting Charlie Strong, a former Power 5 head coach, to coach your linebackers. We hired Jason Taylor in an off-field position role. He's going to be recruiting. We got 2 Hall of Famers.
I mean, if he brings Joy Taylor to a recruit's house, it's over. Sign on the
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Get her around campus.
Sign on the dotted line. Done.
Absolutely.
How many people stopped listening when these last 5 minutes or so?
Probably 80%.
80%. You think there's 20 hanging on? Good for us.
Oh, I don't even know about 20, but yeah. I mean, let's see. Ned Snark also asked about the Wolves. Is Robert Plant still involved? He's a fan. He's never given the Wolves money. I kind of begrudge him for that. Wolves, I'd like to just finish 8th, get in the conference. What's it called? The conference champion conference. It's like the 3rd tier of European football.
It's like the Nations League of fucking yeah. So hey, really quick to bring it back to Minihan stuff. Ned Snark. Okay, did you hear? Now I love Mick and the Bat Boys are doing a great job. To be fooled by Montante, pretending to be Ned Snark, makes me really question as well too what's going on upstairs with those boys.
Well, they're very illiterate.
They're trusting. They're too trusting.
They're too trusting, which is how they're too trusting, which makes them very fun to mess with. But they're just very green or naive in regards to like Minifan operations. And I gotta talk to him privately and be like, you gotta have your hands up at all times because people are coming for you at all times.
When they tagged Ned the next day and posted like the clip or whatever, and Ned Snark goes, "What the fuck is this?" And then like Montante's in a gambling chat going, "I don't know how, but I convinced those guys I was fucking Ned Snark. You guys got to listen to this."
Montante, he's a little shit stir as well.
But that was funny. So yeah, I didn't know if you saw that at all. I thought that was pretty funny.
That was pretty funny. I'd actually forgotten about that. Yeah, I mean, that's all the listener questions I really got. I got my thoughts on the Canes and the Wolves out there. Dave, you got anything else?
No, I thought we hit everything. And just everyone that I was busting balls with this week, like Sig and Andrew and them. Listen, you are super boring. Like you are. But in the end, I hope you guys take it that it's ball busting and it's, no malice or hate on my part.
Absolutely. I hate when I even need to say that because I feel like.
But you never know, dude. You never
know. You never know. I think Sig's in on the joke, and Blind Owl definitely took it pretty well.
Blind Owl gives as good as he can take. Like that guy busts my balls like all the time. I just, it's all good. I can take it. I can take a good ribbon myself.
All right, big dog. That's it for this episode of Minihanedom. I'll be coming back at you probably next week. I don't know who I'll have on. I don't know what will be on, but I'll be here. David, thank you for coming on.
So thanks a lot, guys, and check out Talking Loud Saying Nothing. Go check out that interview that VD talked about. It's one of the best things we've done. The guy's stories about working with Diddy and like kind of getting strong armed into signing a contract. It's some interesting stuff.
Very good
check
insight.
out.
Very good very good music business insight. And real quick before we end, I mean, you kind of got the Kirk syndrome where you're always talking about ending that show. What's the spring summer schedule? Are we still just going to be doing it whenever you want? Like, what can
No.
listeners
So
expect?
we have guests lined up for the next like 4 weeks. Some really cool guests. We have Michael Parente coming on Friday. Who, if you're from Rhode Island, he works for CES Boxing and MMA. He does like the matchmaker. He was involved in putting together the Roy Jones Mike Tyson fight. He's
Wow.
actually lives in Lincoln, Rhode Island, which is where Jay lives. So he's going to be in studio. So we're going to be doing a big like MMA boxing sort of like how he got into it, how he was able to get involved in that stuff. I'm gonna go VD through the beginning of summer, probably till like the 2 year anniversary, which will be about July. And
Mm-hmm.
I am gonna like be around the beach in the summer. I'm not gonna be driving all over
Yeah.
Rhode Island to
Take
be.
the summer off.
Yeah,
Come back
and
for
then we'll
football
see. We'll
season.
see after that. That's definitely.
Yeah.
But we've got some really cool guests coming up. I've got some stuff lined up for the next like 4 or 5 weeks where we have people coming in studio that are really interesting people that hopefully people will enjoy. So we definitely got a weekly schedule from here on in. We didn't do anything this week because Jay had his daughter's birthday party, and his in-laws flew in from Portugal, so he kind of was preparing for that this week. So that's why we took the week off.
No problem. Yeah, I mean, you guys do great interviews. You're a great interviewer. So I'll be looking forward to those. And
And I
yeah,
appreciate you having me on, VD. This was fun, man.
absolutely. I'll talk to you later.
See you, bro.
Peace.